I just want to give a recap of my first time ever bluefin tuna fishing in San Diego offshore. First of all, I had a fantastic time. I've never met such a supportive group of people as I was able to interact with in Facebook groups for San Diego fishing. I had some awesome guys reach out, spend their time teaching me, answering any questions. I even had somebody, Marco Gonzalez, shout out, loan me gear. Made the trip fantastic. I had every arrow in my quiver. By the time I went out on the trip on August 4th, I had every tool for success other than experience. So I did get to gain the experience. One thing, he was on a mission to prove that these cheap jigs are just as good as the name brand ones. This one is called the Shanghai Express. I think they sell it online as a tuna bomb. He didn't really make it clear, but it tapers on two axes, so it's flat on one side there, and it's also thicker there down, and so it's kind of like a hybrid between a Eddie bomb and some of those other hot dog shaped jigs. But I was expecting to get bit on the drop a lot. I got bit 4 times, which was more than anybody on the boat that I counted. And it was always on the burn. I was burning the shit out of this, getting it back up through the column to reset above that thermocline at 240 feet. And all 4 times I got bit, and it got bit hard. Even bent this crooked here. I just kept fishing it because they didn't seem to care. It got bent. I mean, I was burning it as fast as I could through the water column. I prepared by going to the gym a lot, and I was able to land a 129, 130 pound bluefin. And I looked back on the video and I landed it in 7.5 minutes. Hindsight, I'm lucky that I used the swells and the rail and got it in that quick, because when I had reeled it in, I had a secondary rail rod setup that my friend had hooked me up with, and it was meant to be a daytime sinker rig. And so I had triple surgeon knotted a small 40-pound leader of fluoro on there. And in the confusion, because I remembered he told me you can use this as a secondary knife jig, there was a lot of current, and we went from 350 grams, they were saying, to 400, and this was at 400. So I just went and I took split ring pliers and I hooked this up, and I didn't realize that I had not cut off the 40-pound leader. So I had this tied with a 40-pound leader to this custom rail rod, and is a Penn Torque 40, which is a badass reel. Anyway, I got this in, and I was, to my surprise, it had nicked the 40-pound bite leader, but luckily it didn't bite it off. Probably because I got it in so quick. 15 minutes or more, and that thing was definitely gone, and I was really wrenching on it. It's that option fluorocarbon is some tough shit. I will say that. I didn't get to use a lot of the other jigs in my quiver. So let's see. There was the bait issue. This is August 4th through 7th on the Tomahawk out of Fisherman's Landing. So when we went down to the dock, first of all, I'd been canceled in May when I was down in San Diego. And so we get down there, and the weather was looking pretty hairy. It was like 7 to 8 foot swells, windy, conditions that in Oregon, here we would, sport boats, the smaller boats would definitely not even consider going out in. Then there was potential engine issues, so we were delayed getting out of there. We did end up going, obviously, after second opinion. There was some diesel issues. They had to run it around the dock, run around the bay, and so we got a late start. We went and picked up the nastiest looking bait I've ever seen. It looked kind of like this jig. That's what the bait looked like. It was all beat up, lethargic. They were big. It was like putting stalker trout on a fly line hook. But again, my spirits weren't dampened at all. I was excited, and I had it was kind of a rough ride out there. We didn't get out there the first night until it was getting to be morning, so we really didn't get any night fishing in the first night. We were probably too close to the full moon. I thought I was kind of safe like, I think the full moon was August 9th, and the 2 main nights, days of fishing were the 5th and the 6th. I now know, like, a lot of guys will say I avoid 3 days before and 5 days after the full moon. So we kind of crossed into that 3 days before, and sure enough, when it got about the second day was dead. I mean, there was no. I did hook into a fish, but like most of this action, there was actually people catching with knife jigs at night. Was the first night. I don't think one fish was hooked on that nasty bait. It died halfway through. So they were flying. The Tomahawk's really good at flying the kite, which was badass. Like, and they were good about handing fish off to guys. They were doing a lottery, but it was only going to people that hadn't caught fish. They were aware of that. So like, you know, my buddy caught 2 30-pounders right off the bat, and then nothing else. And I caught the 129-pounder and then a 30-pounder first night. And so we got to watch those 190 to 208-pound kite fish, one after the other, just smash that yummy and flying fish. It was amazing to watch. Like, it was as fun to watch that as it was to catch a fish, really. Like, I would have obviously liked to catch one myself, but it's not the most efficient way to catch. You got one person fighting one for an hour sometimes or more. But I guess that was the first time all year they'd been smashing fish that big. So that was exciting. Yeah, the people on the boat were really cool. The deckhands were great. The food was great on the Tomahawk. And I gotta say, like, I live in Oregon, and most of my adventures on this channel are in the Pacific Northwest. But I have to say, coming back and going salmon fishing after that experience, like, it didn't get my juices flowing the same way as it normally would. Like, I mean, it was like, it felt like going and catching some stock or trout compared to that bluefin. You know, even when I went and did albacore after this, and you know, it was a tug of war, you know, and the team aspect of it is fun, and it's high intensity, multiple hookups. Like, I'm not saying it sucked, but like, it really didn't hold a candle. So at this point, like, you know, I'm in grad school, I'm living here in Oregon, and I'm gonna keep fishing here and organizing trips and, you know, everything. But like, I can't wait to get back to San Diego. I'm already looking at my lifetime setups, like my buy once, cry once type setups. Like, I want to, you know, very purposefully buy the best stuff that within reason that I will need, that I won't want to change out for the rest of my life. And I'm already looking at, you know, planning my vacation around going down there a couple times next year. It was absolutely fantastic. There's no other fish with that amount of power and the meat quality both together. It has top notch of both. Reeling in that 130-pounder was like hooking into a running truck. I heard it described as a freight train before. That's pretty accurate, actually. When it first collided with the line on the crank, it was a violent collision that kind of shocked me. Like, I didn't know what to think. It was almost like they say, like, it was like, it's gonna feel like you hit bottom, but to me, on the crank, when it hit, it felt like I violently snagged bottom, and the entire power of the boat was pulling, and the rod was loaded up, and it was, you know, it was shocking. Like, I didn't realize what had happened at first. And then after that, the 30-pounder I got was actually foul hooked in the belly. I possibly burned it through the column so fast that it just hooked it. I don't know. But that thing, I was convinced was like a 200-pounder. I told the deckhands when I'm reeling it in that, like, you know, I'm like, this is a bigger fish than that one I just caught. And it was just foul hooked. And, you know, the captain said, you know, well, you know what they say, anyone can catch them by the mouth. And like, that's no shit. Like, that thing hooked in the belly, that 30-pounder fought harder than the 130-pounder by a wide margin. Anyway, fantastic experience. I'm glad I did it. On the other hand, you know, it's kind of ruined some of this other fishing here. It's some of this other stuff I do in Oregon here is, you know, relegated to meat runs. I love the variety we have here, but I can't wait to get back. That bluefin is calling me, and I can't wait to try catching a yellowtail and a white sea bass. Anyway, thanks for checking out.